for joining us, guys. It's good to have you. I am Paul Lane, and you are watching KUHS, the stream. Whether you're listening to us or whether you're watching us, we are so grateful to have you guys. This is the Weekend Boost, and I am your host, Paul Lane, again. Guys, our guest, he runs a food truck, and he might have been out late last night, I don't know, but he failed the show. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the show today. We got some pretty interesting things to talk about. Unfortunately, we're not able to talk about what we wanted to talk about with Ishmael, but we're going to talk about some very good current events. I hope that you do enjoy the show today. Guys, I really am curious what you think about the show, what you think about what we discuss on the show. If you have any interesting topics that you'd like to hear about, if you'd like to have any special guests on show, let me know, because I'm receptive, and I want to make sure that this show is entertaining, that this show is informative. I want to make sure that you are getting something out of the show, and we want you to come back. So anyway, with that, let's go ahead and get started. As you know, I am a big supporter of CALMA, Colorado Alliance for Latino Mentors and Authors, and Ramas y Raíces, Branches and Roots, is the anthology that was released last year. A lot of work went into this, and if you are a reader, if you like pleasure reading, this is a fantastic read. A fantastic read. Like I said, I always talk about, short stories, essays, and poems, and it's all local authors, all Latino authors, and it's a very, very interesting read. Please get this in your bookshelf. I am the author of The Caregiver's Handbook, a self-help love story, a chronological outline of my first wife's cancer experience and how it affected us and how it affected me and how I was able to survive it. And so if you have a loved one who is ill, if you have a loved one who has been ill, or if you are sick yourself, this is a great tool, a great guide, a great assistant for you. If you guys like pleasure reading, I'm going to tell you I have a book that you definitely would be interested in. This is Elena Avila and Joy Parker, The Woman Who Glows in the Dark. This was written by a curandera and someone who has very, very strong credentials, and it's a book about magical experiences and something that you might be very interested in getting in your hands. Guys, I know that this may be getting old because I've been talking about these books for the last 2 months, but on tyranny. We are experiencing tyranny in the United States of America right now. We are in the midst of it. If you ever thought to yourself, I don't know what I would do if Nazi Germany happened again, it's happening. It's happening. Every American needs to read this book, especially if you are from a marginalized group. A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. Why should you own this book? Because the history that you learned in school is not the history that you're going to learn here. Howard Zinn was a history major, and Howard Zinn did a lot of research. And when he told this story, he didn't tell this from, there's a saying, it says history is written by the victors. Well, this is history that was written by those who were oppressed. This is history that was written about and for people who were in those internment camps in Japan, people who were on the downside of the Jim Crow laws, people who were on the downside of segregation, people who were on the downside of war. Rich men never send their sons to war. Isn't that an interesting fact? With that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Guys, again, if you would like to feature your business on KUHS, please reach out to me, reach out to us at the station, because we would love to feature your business. We're getting a lot of video, a lot of visits, a lot of hits, and there's a lot of profitability in that. When you advertise, you get results. Story time. So this is a really interesting story I got to share with you guys. Yesterday, my wife and I decided to go out doing a little shopping. We go to a couple of local shops. I try never to shop any big stores. I've told you before, I never go to any chain stores or chain restaurants. Since 2023, I have not bought a new pair of clothing. In fact, I just got this nice, beautiful shirt at the secondhand store. I got this hat at the secondhand store, and it looks, it's beautiful. And I don't go to chain stores. I don't go to chain restaurants. I don't go to fast food restaurants. I have not bought a phone since before 2023. 2022 was my last phone because there's a genocide going on in the Congo and people are being treated like slaves. And I'm not going to buy a new phone as long as I can help it. And when I do buy a new phone, it's going to be a refurbished phone. So, back to the story. So, as I've said it before, I am not anti-Semitic. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I had a lot of Jewish friends growing up. I am not anti-Semitic, but I am anti-genocide. And as a result of being anti-genocide, I am not afraid to make a stand. And one of the stands that I make is I happen to have a couple of shirts that say Free Palestine. And I have one that says Free Palestine. I have one that says From the River to the Sea. And if you know anything about that statement, that's a very controversial statement in Palestine, and it's a statement that a lot of people stand by. And I happened to wear my shirt yesterday, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the contradiction in results or responses that I got. So I wore the shirt, and we went into this little store that we go into, and man, this young man came up and started videotaping me. He walked right up to me, and he had this big giant smile on his face. And he looked me in the eye with his camera and he goes, I gotta videotape you, man. I love you. I love you. And I didn't even know what he was talking about. And he said, thank you for wearing that shirt. I am from Palestine. And I looked at him and I said, you know, I cry for your people almost every day. And then he left. And about 10 minutes later, this other young man came up to me and he goes, oh, I got to shake your hand. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate this so much. I'm from Palestine. Two guys from Palestine in the same store. I don't know if they were related or if they were friends, but two guys came up to me and it was like, wow, that's really nice. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But more, I appreciate you. So, you know, we walked out of the store and we were pretty happy and we felt pretty good about it. And we decided to go to get some worm castings for my garden and some fertilizer. And so we went in this plant grow store, and the guy was really friendly, you know, and that was no surprise, you know. He's a service guy and he was doing his job, and I got what I needed, and I ordered, you know, I got a couple of other things, you know, and he comes up and he says, you know, I've already added all the discounts on this, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw in this extra fertilizer package for you since you're wearing that cool shirt. And I felt like, wow, man, this is really great. You know, my message is getting out. People are seeing that the people in Palestine are being very unjustly treated, that there's literally an outdoor concentration camp happening there. They're starving the people. They're withholding medical attention. They're sending their drones with grenades, and they're playing like video games, except with these video games they're killing people. And they showed this IDF soldier, and he was saying, yeah, you know, it's cool, it's like a video game. I can drop bombs on people, except this is a real deal. And I was sickened by that. I was really sickened by that. Anyway, we decided to go to Costco after we finished there, and we walked in and everything was fine. I was walking around the store. All of a sudden, there's a guy that's ranting and raving. He's mumbling. He wasn't speaking out loud. He was mumbling to himself, but he was cursing at me. Way back in the back of the Costco over there by the meat section, I turned around and there was a guy that was cursing at me, and my wife was talking to him and saying, "Yeah, you can talk to us like that." And next thing I know, I'm not toe to toe with him, but I turned to face him, and I didn't back down or walk away from him, and I just told him the same thing. I said, you know what? I gave him a piece of my mind right in Costco, and I'm not going to be afraid. I'd rather live on my feet than to die on my knees. I will not bow down. I will not let anyone intimidate or scare or make me feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing what I believe is the right thing, and I will do it till my grave. I believe in what I stand for, and I stand for what I believe, and I encourage you to do the same. If you have any feelings about this, please feel free to write into the station. Write in, because we love to hear your feedback. I'm always down for feedback. And so that was my experience, and I thought that was a pretty interesting contradiction in attitudes toward a shirt. And it's amazing how one little thing like a shirt can generate such responses, whether positive or negative, but so polar opposites of one another. And yet, there I was. So that was my interesting story for the day. I thought I'd share with you. Guys, again, we were, Ishmael was going to be on here and he was going to talk about some key issues. I was hoping that we were going to be talking about immigration and ICE, and because those are big topics. And he wanted to talk about men's issues as well. And apparently Ishmael is starting a men's coaching classes, and he's helping men that are dealing with different things in their lives. And honestly, I didn't get the whole gist of his message, but as you know, I'm a feminist, and I was here ready to take the female side because I didn't know if he was going to be talking badly about women or talking about how men are superior or whatever the case may be. But I'm of the mindset that women are the superior of the genders. That's my opinion, and I believe that the patriarchy has run its course, and we've seen wars all over the world. We've seen conflicts all over the world. We've seen economies collapse. We've seen people do unjust and corrupt things all over the world. And so the one common thread we see is that they are all males. The fragile ego of the male is doing a very bad thing in society. Recently, we went through a transition in the stars, and the divine feminine, which has not been active or here over the last 80 years or so, has returned. And so more and more we're starting to see women leaders, women presidents across the world. And I'm of the mindset that we're going to start seeing less violence, and we're going to start seeing more compassion, more inclusion, more receptivity to people listening to leaders, listening to their constituencies. Because if you don't, you're going to be replaced. As you know, we're going through a lot of difficult times right now, and I don't know if you've been hearing, I guess Rupert Murdoch, the owner of the Wall Street Journal, was it the Washington Post? I can't remember. Rupert Murdoch, whatever of the two publications he owns, posted a picture. It was a birthday card that Donald Trump had allegedly written to Jeffrey Epstein, and it was a picture of a naked woman, and Donnie says, for our wonderful secrets that we keep. And guess what? That's very incriminating. And it's so interesting that Rupert Murdoch of Fox News was the one who released this. Of course, he's now suing them. But in the last week, perhaps you have heard, maybe not, but they have refused to release the Epstein files. And, we all heard Pam Bondi herself says, the file's on my desk waiting for review. Then she came back and made some kind of mumbo jumbo excuse as to why it wasn't going to be released. Well, there's a lot of incriminating stuff on there. Even when Donald Trump said, well, I'd release it, but there's a lot of fake news on there. Well, I beg to differ. I believe that it's valid news. I believe it's very, very real news. We've all seen the flight logs. The flight logs showed that he was on that plane probably more than anyone else. I would venture to say that his name is at the top of the list. Of course, he doesn't want that name released. So what did he say yesterday? He said, well, I will release the Jeffrey Epstein list if you give me a third term. I can't imagine going through a third term with Donald Trump. That's my opinion, but I could not imagine going through this again. I remember the first term, it was so sickening. For 4 years, every single day there was a news story about this scandal, this corruption, this law that he broke, this harassment, this how he's demeaned and discredited and devalued and destroyed the lives of so many people. Interestingly enough, mostly women. Donald Trump has destroyed the lives of so many people. Now they're saying they have a watch list and they're watching people who are speaking out. Well, you know what? I'm on it, I guess, because I'm going to speak out until I can't speak anymore. What's your opinion on that? Got any feelings? Got any thoughts on it? I'd love to hear them. So, while we're talking about Donald Trump, I don't know, perhaps you have seen that he's got poor circulation and his ankles have really swollen up. I don't have any pictures to show you, but I'm sure that you've seen the pictures of his ankles that have been swollen up, and he has poor circulation. Well, what do you expect when you eat McDonald's burgers every day and French fries and you live on diet soda? Hey, I'm encouraging you, Donald. Keep on drinking that diet soda. We're okay with that. I'm sorry. I'm okay with that. Yes, I'm anti-Trump. Yes, I am against this administration. Yes, I'll be happy when it's gone. Yes, I'll say everything I can against him. Yes, I will expose anything that I see that he does. And yes, I will never shut my mouth, because I would rather live on my feet than to die on my knees. Guys, we started a little bit early. We were planning on starting at 9:30 and going till 11. I guess, again, my guest did not show up, but you're watching KUHS, the stream on Melody Drive, and this is the Weekend Boost, and I'm your host, Paul Lane. Typically, we talk about authors, we talk about current events. We like to bring in speakers with very interesting topics. We had Ralph Pullman in here recently, and he was talking about money. He was talking about the new finances in the world and how they're affecting us and how they're affecting you and me, and how we can be ready for that change. But we try to always have good guests on the show, and I really appreciate the folks that do come on and have come on the show over the past 6 years that I've been doing the show. By the way, we have been running the Weekend Boost, or featuring the Weekend Boost for 6 years now. And again, I thank Jefe Henry Archuleta for making this all possible. Guys, if you're ever in the neighborhood, stop by and see Henry, man. He's here. He's working hard. He's making this happen. You talk about community servants. You go through life and you'll find people who are givers, and then you find people who are servants, and Henry's the latter. He really makes an effort to give of himself, to make himself available to people, and he uses this platform to help people to get their message out. If you watch KUHS on any regular basis, you'll see that there's a huge variety of topics that are discussed, and talk shows that are had, whether it's health, whether it's religion, whether it's spirituality, whether it's astrological. There's a huge array of topics that are discussed on KUHS, the stream. And so please make it a point to put your dial on KUHS, your internet dial on KUHSdenver.com, because there's a lot of interesting stuff for you to hear about. So, right now we are in a crisis, and the crisis is getting worse and worse, and a lot of people are just so much more concerned about the price of eggs than they are about the reality of the tyranny that we are in the midst of, in the authoritarianism that's going on, how he has hijacked the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice. He has hijacked the Department of Education. He has hijacked all kinds of organizations that are the checks and balances to keep a corrupt person from thriving in office. And so he's made it so that all of his billionaire buddies are dictating what happens with prices, whether it's the price of your shoes or the price of your gas, whether it's the price of your eggs or the price of the pants that you wear. They are dictating that. We had supply chain issues during the pandemic, but when the supply chain issues were resolved, you notice the prices never went down. That bothers me. And now, what's happening again? Prices are not going down. Prices are going up. Donald Trump came and he said, I'm going to get a handle on this. I'm going to put the prices into a manageable state. And I don't know about you, but man, $100 in a bag in a sack of groceries, it doesn't go very far. It goes less and less and less, and it seems like it's going down by the day. I've look back historically, and it seems like every time a Republican president comes in, they destroy the economy, they destroy jobs, they destroy the housing market, they destroy um, the fiscal responsibility of the United States government. They up the debt and they give more tax breaks to the rich, and then a Democrat comes in and seems like they spend 4 years trying to correct all of the mess ups of the George Bushes of the world, the Ronald Reagans of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, and we pay the price. And I'm tired of paying the price. I'm tired of men. I'm tired of male egos. I mean it. And I'm only a small voice in the wilderness, but I'm tired of the male ego destroying the economy or what's left of it. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the next 6 to 8 months. We don't know if the dollar's going to collapse. We don't know if Bitcoin's going to come in. We don't know if electronic currency is going to take over. We don't know if pretty soon you're going to be sitting on a pile of $100 bills and they're going to be worth $2. We don't know. But we do know this: we are in uncertain times, and this is a time to unite. This is a time to make your voice heard. This is the time to call your congressman. This is the time to call your lawmakers, whether they're local or whether they're national. This is the time to get on the phone and make a phone call and tell them, we want those files released. We want Donald Trump held accountable. Huh? Thoughts? Thoughts? Right now, we have about 4,300 people listening to us, 4,100 on desktop. So, 4,100, and then, just various others. But 4,100 people. Some of you agree with me, some of you hate me. But you know what? The point I'm trying to make is this: make your voice heard. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. All right, so I'm going to change gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about you. Are you reading? Are you taking your medication? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you liking the person you look at in the mirror? Are you satisfied with the outcome that you're producing? What affects all of that? All of that is affected by one thing, and that's you, your attitude. You generate much of what happens to you through your attitude. And recently I learned something that I got to share with you that's really, really awesome. I told you about my affirmation, how I say I'm the luckiest guy in the world. All the lights are always green. Everything goes my way, and money always finds its way into my pocket. Because I'm the luckiest guy I know. Well, I've added to that. I heard a really, really awesome TikTok video the other day, and it was talking about our expectations for life, our expectations for satisfaction and happiness and contentment in life. And what I started doing was every night at the end of the day, I started saying to myself, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Something wonderful is going to happen to me. Something wonderful is happening for me. Something wonderful is happening to me. And I'm waking up in the morning and I'm looking for something wonderful. I'm not kidding you. You know, the interesting thing about that is it's really taken my mind off of the negative things and, the hopelessness of the situation we seem to find ourselves in. But I am going to continue saying to myself, isn't it wonderful? I'm even taking it next level and I'm saying, isn't it incredible? Isn't it incredible? Who can hold you back? Who can hold you back? Only you. Only you. I've said this poem before. I'll say it again. An enemy of mine I had, whose face I stoutly strove to know. For hard he dogged my steps unseen wherever I did go. One night I seized and held him fast, and from the veil did draw. I looked upon his face at last, and lo, myself I saw. Some of you are getting in your own way. Some of you are using your words against yourself. Some of you are saying, oh, I have such a bad memory. I can never remember names. I'm so bad at math. I'm so, one of the things I hate to say is, here is when someone says, with my luck, With my luck, guess what that is, man? It's just like you're giving a negative spell to yourself. With my luck, you know what I say? With my luck, I'll win $1 million. With my luck, I'll hit the lotto. With my luck, someone's going to will me a new car. With my luck, great things are happening. Ha! What a contrast. What do you think of that? Guys, I really, really want to hear your feedback. I really want to hear what you have to say about what I'm saying. I want to hear what you have to say about economy, with the economy, with politics. I want to hear your opinion. I want to know who you'd like to see on the show and what topics you want to talk about, because guess what? This is a tough job. This is a, I mean, it's an unpaid position, but the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of effort that goes into one of these shows, and all of the hosts and all of the people who come in, man, they deserve kudos, because this is a lot of effort, and it's a stressful thing, especially when you have a day and your guest doesn't show up, and you're sitting in front of the camera saying, "Oh, what are we going to talk about?" But you know what? Always be prepared. Always be ready for something big and something awesome, and always expect something wonderful to happen for you. Guess what? You can't help but look for that. And pretty soon, all of a sudden, it's going to present itself to you. And guess who's going to be sitting there with their hands full saying, "Whoa, man, this is good." Believe me, the words you say and the words you say to yourself have a powerful impact on the outcome and what you receive. Whether it be good, whether it be bad, your words count. Guys, there's a sleeping giant in America. There's hundreds of millions of people who are sick and tired. And there's a lot of people on the Trump supporting side who are now burning their hats. They're saying, "No, you told us you were going to release that file. You told us that you had it. We all know that it's there. If you're going to lie to us again on this, Donald, this is the red line. This is the line that they're drawing in the sand." And guess what? Hundreds and hundreds of people are on TikTok burning their red hats. And it takes a lot for me to not go and say, "I told you so." But I'm doing my best to be accepting. I'm doing my best to be supportive, because you know what? It's time for a change. This cannot sustain itself. You disagree? Let me know. A lot of families have been divided by this president. A lot of people have been divided by this president. And now we have an organization that is getting more money than any other federal organization, called ICE. And ICE is a racist organization. And ICE is deporting now American citizens. They did it before in the early 1900s, and they did it during the Project Wetback. First, they had the Repatriation Act, when they took a bunch of Mexicanos that were from the United States, lived in the United States. Some of them were homeowners, some of them were American citizens, but they just wanted to get them out of there. They wanted to blame someone because they couldn't handle the economy. So they deported a bunch of them in the early 1900s. And then in 1954, Project Wetback, they decided that they wanted to deport thousands and thousands and thousands. It's estimated that over 100,000 American citizens were deported because they wanted to feed the ego of racist white men. Racist white men. And they're doing it again. And they want 3,000 people a day to be deported, and they can't do it because there's just not that many people undocumented in this country. By the way, I despise the term illegal alien. There's no such thing as an illegal alien. There are undocumented workers, but most of these people have been here and gone through the system and gone through legally, and this is a very unjust crime that they're being accused of. I don't know about you, but when I see someone with a mask, with an unmarked car, with the license plate taken out, with no badge, with no ID, coming in, taking people and handcuffing them, throwing in the back of unmarked cars, I think that's kidnapping. I think that is illegal. I think that is unjust, and that's not the American system. When you can take away due process, if you're for all this with what's going on with immigration, you better be careful. You better be aware, because when they stop giving you your due process, you know what that means? You are no longer innocent until proven guilty. You are guilty, period. You were guilty because they say you are. What do you think of that? I am very concerned with that, because when you don't have due process, you are no longer a democracy. When you have a man who is privileged, who came from privilege, who came from money, who never knew anything about want, who never knew anything about lack, who never knew anything about family, who never had any value or friendship or anyone meaningful, apparently that's what it looks like to me. They're a very, very unqualified person to dictate your happiness or your success. Am I wrong? I don't know. Maybe my opinion disagrees with yours, but as long as you say nothing, then you have no voice. As long as you don't have any comment, then I can't read your comment. And that puts you in a very big disadvantage, because your opinion's there, but no one's hearing it. I'd love to hear your opinion. Want to come on the show? Come on. We'll talk. You want to come debate? We'll debate. You want to come bring your point on the show? Bring it on. Get a hold of me. I'd love to talk to you. I'm not real big on featuring Trump supporters, I won't lie, but I will. I think that we as a country need to say enough, and I mean by saying enough, I mean we need more than 12 million people in the streets. We need 20 million people in the streets. We need 30 million people in the streets, and I know there's 30 million people who are sick and tired of this. Will you be one of those people marching at the Capitol? Will you? By doing all the things that he's been doing, he is awakening a sleeping giant. A sleeping giant that has been asleep since the year 2000, when Y2K happened. They were sleeping when I lost my train of thought. Oh, when 9/11 happened. I remember I was on Facebook and I said, this was a wake-up call. You're thinking of this as a snooze alarm. This is a wake-up call. This is a call to look around you. This is a call to see the big picture in the United States, and our country is not our country anymore. We're not the United States of America. I'm sorry, we're the United States of Israel. When you go to any lawmaker, almost without exception, and you ask them, America or Israel, you know what their answer is? Nothing. Nothing. America. Do you see what's going on? Do you understand that your taxes are going to pay for health care in Israel while you get none? Your taxes are going to pay for free education in Israel while you get none in the United States? Do you realize your taxes are paying for people to go unpunished, killing other people? That's what's happening with the American tax dollar. And all of the American lawmakers are beholden to Israel. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, it's said that Jeffrey Epstein was, in fact, a Mossad agent, which was like the CIA of Israel. And we all know that there were video cameras all over Jeffrey Epstein's island. There were cameras in every bedroom. And I personally have a theory that they got a lot of dirt on a lot of politicians, because they'd send them there and they'd send in, promiscuous girls or little girls or women or whatever to Jeffrey Epstein's island, and everyone took advantage of it because they were slaves to their desires. And now Israel, Mossad, has video evidence on all of these lawmakers. I can't think of any other reason why they would be there so strongly standing in support of a foreign country. You're American lawmakers, you're not Israeli lawmakers. And who's the guy that walked in with an IDF uniform? You sicken me, whoever, Mast, I don't know, Brian Mast, I don't remember who exactly it was. I know his face, and he has no legs, and he came in with an IDF uniform. This is the United States, not the United States of Israel. I am telling you, when it comes time to vote, please make sure that you know who you're voting for. Please look at the agendas of all of these lawmakers. Remember, if they are supporting authoritarianism, vote them out. If they are supporting genocide in another country, vote them out. We have enough APAC influence in our government, in our country, in our business, in our media. We have enough of the Zionist rule. I want no more of it. And I'm just one voice, but you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I have strong opinions, and I'm not afraid to voice them. And you know, maybe it's a curse, maybe it's a bad thing, but you know, the fact of the matter is, I believe in what I stand for, and I stand for what I believe. What do you believe? What do you stand for? How far are you willing to go? And I'm not suggesting anything negative or illegal or especially not violent. But how far are you willing to go to stand up for your country? Are you willing to hold a flag up? Are you willing to hold up a sign? Are you willing to go to the Capitol? Are you willing to be the person who says, I am sick and tired of this authoritarian government. I'm sick and tired. Oh, did you guys hear? The guy who, one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation dropped dead yesterday. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's true. Dropped dead. Just dropped dead. And we need more of that. I'm sorry, man. The Heritage Foundation, you sicken me. I'm sure this is going to find its way into the hands of someone from the Heritage Foundation. But you know what? I think you're a racist organization. I think that you are a class elitist organization. And this world is not just made up of white Christian men. This world is made up of a diversity of people. All different kinds of people. Some old, some young, some gay, some straight, some trans, some black, some white. All different kinds of people live here. And you know what? They're not going away. They're not going away. And getting rid of DEI, all you're doing is erasing the history. But you know what? When you start erasing all of the names of the heroes in war, they're all brown and black. The bulk of them. The biggest bulk of them. And we're a small percentage of the population. And yet we have the most medals of honor. We have the most medals of valor. What are you going to do when there's no merit anymore? How are you going to reconcile your words of superiority? What's going to happen when you've erased women from history and all of a sudden women start coming back and producing and inventing and creating and leading? It's going to put you in a place where you just don't have any voice anymore. Pretty interesting place to be. What else? What else can we talk about here? We got a long way to go. There's been very many changes to our economy. Now they want to get our 401ks and they want to invest them in hedge funds and high risk investments. And man, I don't know about you. I don't have a 401k anymore. I'm retired. But if I had a 401k right now, I'd be really worried. I'd be really wanting to get on the horn and find out about all of what's going on with this, what they want to do with the 401k. They want to take away our Medicare. You know, the insurance companies are already talking about a 28% increase in your insurance for next year, thanks to this Republican agenda. What's good for the goose? I don't know. They want to give tax breaks to the rich. It's that simple. And, you know, if you've supported this and you're supporting it still, and you like this thing about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, well, I hope you enjoy it because it's temporary. It's a very short-lived thing. It's going to end in a couple of years. I believe 2028, it's going to end. All your taxes on tips, they're coming back. And even that's limited. But here's the thing. The tax cuts to the rich are permanent. They're permanent. You know when America was great? America was great when there was a 90% tax on the rich. And it's not on all of their income. It's on a certain amount. There's a cap, and everything above that, they're taxed on it, 90%. Guess what? That was a time when America was thriving. That was a time when you can afford a house, a car, a vacation, and college, and one worker in the household. That was a time when you could afford to go buy a dozen eggs. That was a time when you could go out and fill up a grocery cart for $100. Those days are gone. But that doesn't mean they're gone for good. Maybe with a little bit of cost adjustment and a lot of unity, we can get back to a place where we are great. Of course, you know, for a lot of people, there's never been a time when America was great. There was never a time when America was great. America was always a place where they were oppressed. America was always a place where they were redlined. America was always a place where they were mass incarcerated. America was always a very, very unsafe place for them. Guys, I don't know if you've talked much about or heard much about private prisons, but you know, before the pandemic, there were 159 private prisons in the United States. Did you know that? 159 private prisons in the United States. Guess what? That number is way, way up now. They want to do a private prison for immigrants who are not even criminals in Walsenburg, Colorado. They're looking at other places, but they want to have another private prison here. You know what? That's like being a slave owner. Could you imagine owning a private prison? It's like you're a slave owner, because you could send your workers to Burger King, you could send them out to work on the road, on the farm, or on the chain gang. You can make them do whatever you want because you're their owner. Slavery is alive and well in this country. Now I want to talk about mass incarceration. We have the highest per capita incarcerated population on earth. The biggest segment of the population incarcerated is black and brown men. The laws have been skewed to favor Anglos. The laws have been skewed to work against black and brown men. And it's not new. This has been going on since Ronald Reagan was the president. The first private prisons came out in 1982 and 83. And when they changed the laws, the cocaine laws, to say that people with crack cocaine got 5 times the penalty of people who had powder cocaine, same exact drug, 5 times the prison sentence. That's a big red flag. And then we find out that they were dropping off crates full of cocaine in the inner city under the government, the United States government. I don't know how we can live with ourselves knowing this. Most people don't know it, but it's true. It's true. And Ronald Reagan said, just say no. While George Bush was bringing cocaine and dropping it off on every corner. You don't believe it? There's movies about it. Look at the movie Blow. There's a lot of movies that have been made that have documented what's going on. And guess what? None of them ever did a day in prison for their crimes. No president. None of these elected officials never did any time for prison. But they want us to say liberty and justice for all. I know I sound very radical today. It makes it very hard for me to stand up and say liberty and justice for all when I know the fact of the matter is that people are not having liberty or justice. People have not had justice for generations. And you know, historically we talk about black people who are lynched. There were hundreds of them, thousands of them. But you know what we don't know in history? Because history doesn't tell us that there were a lot of Latinos, a lot of Mexicanos and Mexicans that were lynched by the Texas Rangers and by the Texans that were occupying that land that was not theirs. My grandfather was a first-generation American, and his father, my great-grandfather, was a Mexican. But they were born on the same land, in the same plot of land. My mother was a second-generation American, and I'm a third-generation American. The land that I was born on was called Walsenburg, but when my great-grandfather was born on that same land, it was called Plaza de Leon. So when we talk about we didn't cross the border crossed us, we did not cross the border. The border crossed us. And my ancestors didn't speak fluent English, and so they were not able to go to court, and they were not able to go and contest all of the land that was taken from them. And so guess what? My family was poor peasants like everyone else, even though they'd lived on that land for generations and generations. All gone by the powers that be. You might feel helpless, and you might feel hopeless, and you might feel like you have no voice, but you know what? You're right. When you're alone, you have no voice, like you're a little whisper in the wilderness. But guess what? When you and your neighbor get together, and then you get together with your other neighbors and the people down the street, and you go down to the Capitol and you see 20,000 or 10,000 people standing there, and you join them, guess what? You become a powerful voice, and they have awakened the sleeping giant. I'm all about waking up the sleeping giant in you. You might have heard about Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert refused to bow down. Stephen Colbert refused to bend the knee. And Stephen Colbert was canceled last night, or the night before last. He was canceled. And when you start taking away the freedom of the press, you are in an authoritarian government. When someone like DJT has the power to cancel a show because he didn't like what they say, I say he has too much power. Thoughts? I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see who has something to say to contradict me, to disagree with me, or to agree with me. I don't know. Do you even have an opinion? Write it in. Write it in. I'm tired of the daily news of our president who is above the law, or he perceives himself to be above the law. I'm tired of the scandal a day. I'm tired of finding out that more rights have been taken away. I'm tired of being under a tyrannical government. You know, Timothy Snyder, the author of this book, he left the United States. That's how serious of a situation we're in right now. On tyranny. It's a short book, man. Guys, this book you can read it in an afternoon. Why would you want to read this book? Because we are under tyranny right now. There's a watch list going on, and I'm probably on it. I don't care. I would rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. I'm sorry. I just cannot live like this. I cannot accept this as normal. Cognitive decline. We're seeing cognitive decline in this man. We're seeing health decline. We're seeing him, becoming more and more disoriented, becoming more and more angry, outbursts. We're seeing these big bruises on his hands. We're seeing all these different symptoms of something big, and they are doing everything they can to keep him in. And I personally think that they want to put J.D. Vance in because he's much more easy to manipulate. And they put J.D. Vance in, man, and I'm telling you, it's going to go from bad to worse because J.D. Vance is their little puppet. And J.D. Vance will do whatever they tell him to do. I don't care if it's legal or if it's illegal. If they tell J.D. Vance, Shady Pants, the couch guy, to do something, he'll do it. He'll do it. Curious, what do you guys think of? I can't think of her name. The press secretary. She's a great liar. She's a great liar. She's a great woman who came from privilege, who married a millionaire. I mean, like 25, 30 years older than her. and that's given her the credibility to be the press secretary of the United States. I think that what you have to do is you have to compromise yourself. You have to be willing to lie, cheat, steal, or even take someone's life to work under this presidency, because to me, there's no self-control. There's no limit to what she will say to protect her president. I will say this: he could be her president, but he'll never be mine. I will never ever call him President Donald Trump. I won't. It's the only time I ever said those words. I will never call him that. Sorry, I can't. I don't believe that he's a presidential person. I don't believe he has diplomacy. I don't believe he has tact. I don't believe that he has strategical thinking. I don't believe he has the people in mind. I don't believe he wants to serve the American people. I believe he wants to serve a small segment of the American people. That's my opinion. And I base that opinion on the evidence that I've seen. And as an average Joe, I'm concerned about that. Finding out that they're building more private prisons, I'm concerned about that. Alligator Auschwitz, I'm very concerned about that. You know, we're hearing about the immigrants being taken to foreign countries that they're not from and put in prisons there. You know what? There's a thing that happened in World War II where they had concentration camps in Warsaw, in Poland. Auschwitz was not in Germany. Auschwitz was in Poland. Much like Alligator Auschwitz is in the deep Everglades, or like they're taking these prisoners to El Salvador without due process, without a trial, without any kind of opportunity to defend themselves. People who are already legally going through the system, people who are legitimate asylum seekers, legitimate asylum seekers who are being put in prison. How can we do that? How can we do that? And why are we doing it only to brown people? I've heard that he's deported a few Europeans, very few, but how is this happening that he's deporting only brown people? How is it that he's getting these brown men, mostly men, and taking them, incarcerating them, abducting them, kidnapping them without a badge, without an ID, without a license plate on the car, throwing them into the car and kidnapping them, taking them to undisclosed locations? What is wrong with this picture? And why are we taking this? And still not a single comment. I don't know, man. I don't know if we're sleeping. I don't know if we're afraid. I don't know if you're just afraid to make a statement. I don't know if you're afraid to make a stand. I don't know if maybe you just agree with everything that's happening. I didn't stand up for them because I wasn't a Jew. I didn't stand up to them because I wasn't gay. I didn't stand up to them. I didn't stand up to them. I didn't stand up to them. But then they came for me and it was too late. We're there. We are there. And I'm sorry to say that it's a very, very serious place that we are right now. We are at a turning point where if we don't stand up and make a change, if we don't stand up and make our voices heard, our voices are going to be smothered and we're going to be in the prison camps with them. You know, I talked about IDF soldiers and IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. And I'm curious why they are training American police. And what are they training them to do? Why do we need the most cruel, brutal, murderous army on earth to come and train our police force? We know what kind of tactics they use there. They use drones. They kill people going to get food. They kill people trying to get medicine. They shoot children in the knees and they laugh about it. They dress in women's lingerie of homes that they've stolen and destroyed. And we want them to come and train our police force? What kind of police force are we trying to get here? Guys, I have a plaque in the studio here I brought in, and it says, "Be your own hero." Stop trying or waiting for someone else to come and save you. It's not up to them. They're not going to come. They're not coming. The cavalry's not coming. You are the cavalry. You are the warriors. You are the people who, if you don't stand up, you're going to be put down. I believe these mass prisons, these large, giant private prisons that they're building, are being built to hold a lot more than immigrants. I'm concerned about that, and you should be too. Because even if you only disagree a little bit, that's enough to make you incarceratable. I don't know. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I don't know. I only know that my wife and I have made the decision that we're going to live the best life that we can. We're going to make the most out of the life that we have, because we don't know if tomorrow we're going to be in one of those concentration camps too. Because believe me, this dude does not give two craps about you, me, or anyone else who's under $1 million of income. The rich get rich and the poor get poorer. People on Medicaid are getting ready to go through a really, really bad slump, man. And guess what? A lot of people with mental health conditions are not going to have their medication. And guess what's going to happen there? Nobody knows. We don't know what's going to happen when all of these veterans start losing their medical care and all of their mental health prescriptions and all of their depression medication. They want to take it all away from us. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? How bad can it get? I don't know. But be concerned. Be very concerned. I don't know if you know, because we have listeners all over the world. We got listeners all the way down in South America. We got them in Africa. We got them all over Europe. We have listeners just all over the place. Japan, United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Nigeria, Mozambique, Mexico, India, Germany, Egypt. I mean, we got people listening from all over the world right now. And I know people all over the world are watching the United States, and I'm hoping that you're cheering for us, the people. And I know that you are. I know that there have been protests going on all over the world, and people are standing up and saying, you know what? The United States is in trouble. Donald Trump wants to get us out of the UN. And we don't want to be out of the UN. We want to be a part of that umbrella. We want to be, you know what? Because when you attack one country, you attack all countries. The United States is going to be isolated. We're being isolated right now. And, you know, I've seen leaders all over the world saying, man, that guy's a bad man. He's a bad man. He needs to be out of office. He needs to be replaced. He needs to be removed. And I don't know why Americans can't see that. I know that a lot do, but not enough. Not enough. Donald Trump's health is going down. Donald Trump's diet is not helping his health. When you are not of a sound mind, but yet you wield power, that can be a very dangerous thing. And I've never thought Donald Trump was of a sound mind. I mean, I heard him when he was on Howard Stern many, many years before he was the president. And I said, man, that guy's a jerk. That guy's man, he tries to screw his friends' wives. He would, you know, if it wasn't for his daughter being his daughter, he'd be screwing her. Donald, this is not right. This is not normal. People say, well, yeah, I want someone who was not a politician. I want someone who is a businessman. A businessman who had over 6 bankruptcies is not a businessman. He's a failure. He was not self-made. He had $400 million that he conned his brother and sister out of. He's not self-made. Donald Trump was not a scholar. You know, he says he has the words, yet he can't even read a simple document. Donald Trump, he's a fraud. I'm sorry, man. He's a fraud. He's not really intelligent. He's not really presidential. How he got in there, I don't know. You know, during the, after the election, there was a lot of speculation. There was a lot of people who came and wanted to ask questions about the swing states. How did this man win every swing state? Impossible. It was a statistical impossibility. He won every swing state, and there were in every one of these swing states, he got all of the votes, and all of the Democrats got zero. And it's like there was a very high likelihood that this was influenced outside. I don't know if you ever heard when Elon Musk said, if Kamala Harris becomes president, I'm going to prison. I wonder why. And now Donald Trump says, if you give me a third term, I'll release the Epstein files, along with your taxes, along with your medical report, your physical, your actual weight. Just show us your tax returns, Donald. Just show us the Epstein list. No one's going to be surprised that your name's on it more than anyone else. No one's going to be surprised that you are his #1 customer. No one is surprised because we know that you were best friends with him. There are more photographs with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein than anyone else with Jeffrey Epstein. Anyone, even Ghislaine Maxwell. What about this? Men, rich men, molested children for years, and a woman is in prison for it. What does that say about our society? What does that say about how we value women? Why is a woman paying the price for the crimes committed by the men that she worked for? Don't you find that odd? Ghislaine, I know this will never get to you, but they're taking you for a ride, Ghislaine. Ghislaine, I don't know how you pronounce your name. They're taking you for a ride. You're the fall girl. You're going to take all the blame. I think you should come out and let the world know what you really think. I think you should come out, speak your mind, let us know who is really on the list. Testify of what you saw Donald do. Testify about Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, I don't even personally think he's dead. I think he was way too influential and rich and powerful to kill himself. He had friends in high places. Why do you think they shut the camera off? I think Jeffrey Epstein's sitting in a yacht or on an island basking in the sun right now. That's my opinion. It's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. But knowing what I know about Israel now, knowing what I know about Mossad, what I know about Donald Trump, I think that Jeffrey Epstein is free. I think he's cleared to go. I think he came out and said, Donald, if you don't let me out of prison, I'm going to come out with all of the goods on you. And he figured a way to get him out of prison, to shut those cameras off for 1 minute. Get him out of there. I don't think they ever did a DNA test on the body that they found. You know, old white guys look the same. I don't believe that was Jeffrey Epstein's body that came out of that cell that day. My opinion, but I'm entitled to it. Just what I've seen, just what I've heard. What else? A woman is paying the price for all of the indiscretions of men. That's the American way. Twice we've had women candidates who would have been very good candidates, very good presidential representatives, and twice they lost. First one, I think there was a lot of things that happened when Hillary Clinton lost that election. You know, James Comey coming out with talking about she was on the list, she was on an investigation, not telling everyone that Donald Trump was under an investigation as well. I think they influenced that election. But this one, I think, was influenced by much more than people saying things. I think this was by activity. And again, it's my opinion, but you know what? There's a lot of evidence to suggest that. And what can we do about it? Not a damn thing. We got to sit for 4 years and watch this. I'm keeping my language clean. This dude sit in the White House and dictate our futures and take our money away and make inflation go and take our freedoms from us and isolate us from the world, and there's not a damn thing we can do. Bothers me, man. It bothers me. I think it's time that we got a woman president. Again, that's my opinion. I think it's time we had woman leadership, because a female is going to do a better job than a male. You know, they say, oh, women are too emotional. I think men are too emotional. They say women can't make decisions. I think men can't make decisions. You know, when you talk about women making 84 cents to the man's dollar, and you look at how many women own homes in the United States versus men, women have their shit together. Way more than men. How could you make, 16 cents less an hour and still have more homes than men? Is it because men are irresponsible? Is it because men just don't know what they're doing, or women are just smarter? I don't know. But I'm tired of male ego in the world, not just in the United States government, but the world. Talking about the government, guys, there's been a lot of talk over the last 10 years, 20 years about term limits, and these lifetime appointments for Supreme Court justices, they are out of hand. When we have a stacked Supreme Court with 6 Republicans who are very, very party oriented, who are very, very opinionated, and who are very, very right wing, that's not just. That's not justice. That's not democracy. I've talked about Joe Biden. He could have expanded the Supreme Court. He could have implemented, or he could have done something to stop the term unlimited, the unlimited lifetime sentences. He could have done something to correct this, but he didn't. Just like when he hired that attorney general who did nothing, who was just basically just a bump on the log. I can't even remember his name now. The last attorney general we had under Joe Biden, worthless. Worthless. He talked like a little wimp to me. I mean, you'd hear him talk and his voice was so soft, and it was like he didn't have the balls to stand up and say, "You broke the law, pal." He could have done something. He could have made some impact. He could have limited the power of this guy. He could have even limited his ability to become the president, but he did nothing. He did nothing. Not that he should be on one side or the other, but he should be on the side of law and order. He should be on the side of justice. But we couldn't even get that. We couldn't even ask that of him. We need something more in this country. We need someone to stand up and say, I've had enough. We need enough people to stand up and say, I've had enough. Right now, the veterans are getting ready to go to the Capitol, and they're going to go march to the Capitol and say, we want an end to Citizens United. Guys, if you don't know what Citizens United is, you really need to educate yourself. The Koch brothers actually initiated this legislation that says that rich people and corporations have unlimited say-so in our government, that they can invest as much money, dark money, unaccounted for money as they want. And guess what? They're doing it. And the influence on the elections has been devastating for the people. Been great for the rich. But if you ain't in that tax bracket, this party is not for you. The Democratic Party, I think it needs to go too. I think every one of them is beholden to corporations. I think every one of them is taking advantage of Citizens United. Every one of them is taking advantage of their corporate, they're answering only to their corporate donors. My opinion, it's again, but it's very evident that what they're doing is answering only to one group of people, corporate donors. I call BS. I want to see the AOCs of the world come out. I want to see people stand up and say, I want justice. I want fairness. I want DEI back. I want diversity. I want equity. I want inclusion. Because they're only right and just. The reason we have diversity and equity and inclusion is because of past acts that have been exclusive or have been discriminatory. The reason that we have affirmative action is because of the way that people of color were always excluded, that they were always redlined, they were always in that circular file called the trash can. We didn't have opportunities that other people have. And we need to have opportunities. We need to have equality. We need to have a voice. We need to have opportunities that everyone else is having. What's wrong with that? Guys, I am very sad right now. Very, very troubled with things the way they are. But I believe something wonderful is happening right now. Something wonderful is happening. Something beautiful, something incredible. Isn't it wonderful? You are the only person who can make a difference in the future. You are the person who can influence other people. You are the person who can lead by example. You are the person who the neighbors are waiting for to stand up and say, hey, I've had enough of this. Guys, we're in a bad way. We are in an authoritarian government. And who knows if someone's not going to be waiting outside for me when I leave the studio. I'd rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. I only know that I'm standing here, a voice in the wilderness, all alone, waiting for someone to join me, waiting for someone else's voice, waiting for someone else to say, I'm sick and tired of this corruption. I'm sick and tired of this racism. I'm sick and tired of them concentration camps. I'm sick and tired of alligator Auschwitz. I'm sick and tired of El Salvadorian prisons. I'm sick and tired of due process being taken away from Americans and American citizens. I'm tired of it. Guys, I have a slogan on my show, and it says everybody's looking for a hero. And if you can't find one, be one. I'm asking you right now to stand up and be one. Stand up and surprise yourself. Stand up and look in the mirror and say, I have what it takes. Stand up and look in the mirror and say, I'm done with this. I'm done. I am going to make a change. If that means standing up and representing your community as a lawmaker, so be it. If it means that you are going to write a letter to your congressman or make a phone call to your senator and your congressman, so be it. Be a hero, however subtle it means, whether it's even sending prayers. Make a phone call. Be a hero. We need you. The world needs you. The United States needs you. Guys, you have been watching the Weekend Boost on KUHS, the stream. I'm your host, Paul Lane, and I'm waiting for big things to happen. I'm expecting great things to happen, and I'm not going to lay back and wait for them. I want to be a part of the change, and I encourage you to stand up with me and be a part of the change too. Guys, please stay tuned. Great music is coming your way. I don't know if Paul Chavez is going to be on today, but I know that after I leave here, the music's going to roll. And I want you to put it on your station on KUHS and listen to the jams. Enjoy it. Grab a cold beer, Go out for a burrito, smile, live your life in a wonderful way. You've been watching the Weekend Boost. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Love you, man. Thank you for watching.